Hello and welcome back to the Power Podcast. It has been a couple of weeks since we last did our recording. I've moved since then. It's quite nice here in my new location. How are the both of you doing?
I'm alright, actually. Yeah, so I haven't moved. Nothing so much has changed, but it has been a really nice day today, and it's just nice. It's just very nice, isn't it?
How's it over there in Fake Island? Sorry, Northern Ireland.
I hear there's a riot going on, but it's okay where I am.
Jeez.
That's the usual. You know how it is.
Oh, it's just the usual, just a couple of riots,
Yeah.
Well, it's spring.
Heard it's gonna be worse tomorrow whenever they bury Prince Phil.
You just hear
That's
sipping from like a mug, and it's just sound just going. It's fine. It's fine. What's that? What's that smell? Oh, everything's on fire. It's fine. It's fine.
Remember, I've been living in Northern Ireland my entire life. This is normal.
If
there's any kind of holiday or event, there's a riot along with it.
You normalise sinking
concerns.
in your ship. So okay, so we're gonna move on swiftly from that.
Indeed.
So yeah, you guys have. You guys have been, I hope, researching for this because we're actually talking about absorption, the power of absorption. Now, I'm just going to give out just a disclaimer as to what exactly this is. Basically, it is a power to absorb stuff. That's it. There's not really much else to talk about. See you later, guys. Just
see you
wash
in
my hands
the future.
Ciao, ciao. For no, there's not much to be said. Oh wait, yes there is. So, as I look through my lovely flip book and open to page 73, absorption is the power to absorb stuff. That's about it. However, as we all know, it has a subcategory, in fact, an entire glossary of subcategories of stuff. The ability to absorb can mean anything. The ability to absorb water or moisture or sunlight to gain nutrients. We absorb nutrients from foods or poisons from things that we eat, and absorption isn't always necessarily a good or a bad thing, but the power to absorb is absorbing specific things or absorbing things and converting them into things. For instance, the best one that I could probably give out to you guys is possibly pass. No, I'll let you guys say your references first for absorption.
Yeah. Okay, can I go first, actually? Because I want to give a little love to an absorption character that is not only not getting enough love that I think he deserves, but is also just almost universally hated, or at least was universally hated for quite a while.
You're hyping this up now, Alex. I'm
no,
scared.
It's the Absorbaloff from Doctor Who. Yeah, everyone, I mean, that's the thing. I don't actually think that it was a bad episode, but people think it was quite a bad episode, and I think that's just unfair because I like the Absorbaloff. I think it's just a very ghoulish monster, even by Doctor Who standards. He basically he masquerades as this philanthropist, and just one by one absorbs people in this group that are hunting down, trying to find the Doctor. And eventually he does get to actually find the Doctor. And the reason why he wants to, find and absorb the Doctor is because, along with absorbing literally the entire body of people, just like food to make part of his mass, he also absorbs their memories and their intelligence. And he wants to absorb the Doctor in order to gain his centuries of universe experience. Just so he can go back to his home planet and, be the smartest and best, just to do it as a flex. Basically, I absorb the most powerful and smartest man in the entire universe. Look and respect me.
So it's kind of like absorption and assimilation. He absorbs living creatures and then assimilates their memories and I would assume their lifespans?
Well, that's not really clear. I mean, it's he does absorb the memory. We know this much. I don't think he, you know, gets anything else from that other than the satisfaction of it. You know, there's just a really creepy satisfaction, like they just taste really nice. But there is a downside to it, though. Like, he does it quite a lot. I don't think his species is supposed to do it quite as much as he does, because he ends up absorbing quite a lot of people, and he has this, like, temporary field that he carries around in a cane with him that basically just stops him from falling apart. Like, he's keeping all of these bodies within himself. But when that cane gets taken away, all of the humans that he's absorbed basically just, like, spring out of him. They just, like, tear him apart because they're still partly sentient inside him, and they manage to, like, literally rip him apart. Okay. I think he does. I know, yeah. Sorry, spoilers, everybody, but it is pretty gruesome. So I think that he literally takes. I mean, it literally becomes part of him. So I think that he gains, I guess, the equivalent of auxiliary health from them. You know, he goes like, you know, he gains other attributes from them, but I don't think it translates into lifespan. You know, that's as much as I know. That's much as it is explained.
It does remind me a lot of the character Cell, and I guess you could say also Majin Buu from Dragon Ball Z, who absorbs people. Honestly, the Cell Saga for me, if anyone's ever seen Dragon Ball Z, the Cell Saga for me was probably the most scariest as a kid. Because it's this thing of like, yeah, it's over the top anime fights where like these two guys with powerful beams struggles, and then suddenly this alien tyrant who blows up this one guy's best friend. It's like all this kind of it's almost like a space opera on drugs, and then they suddenly cut to like, oh, it's androids who are made by this scientist who are really powerful, even though they're actually cyborgs, but whatever. And then right at the sort of peak of that moment, that one of the characters goes to this city because they've sensed an entire city just gone, just wipes off the map. And eventually he goes down and there's just nothing but clothes, just littering the entire town, no person anywhere. And suddenly he sees this creature walking towards him, this bug-like creature that's like 2 meters tall, walking towards him ominously. And this one guy runs across and tries to get away, and the tail of this creature stabs him in the back and drinks him, as you see him just suddenly become nothing more than literally just, you can see his entire body just starting to like fold in on itself until there is nothing left but the clothes that he wore. And you find out that the more people he's drinking, the more powerful he's becoming. And eventually he uses that tail to swallow up the androids and become even more powerful. So, yeah, I sort of see what you mean with the Absorbaloff. It is that thing of like, it is kind of, I think the ability to absorb living creatures is scary. I know, Sam, you wanted to make a reference to Alex Mercer, who also absorbs living creatures.
It was going to lead into that before. Yeah, it was going to lead into it, considering Alex's one, but yeah, okay then. No suspense there. Screw that.
Well, do you want to explain any other things that actually happened, but the difference between these two and Alex Mercer?
Yeah, there's I mean, one thing that Alex Mercer was made on Earth, and that unlike the Absorbaloff that is a being unto himself, Alex Mercer is actually a virus. If the remains of the genetic memory of Alex Mercer, because in the lore of the game, the virus that he is, Blacklight, essentially absorbs DNA and rewrites it.
Oh, jeez.
To recreate it on the genetic level. Because of that, like the immune systems of people, it mostly kills people because the immune system like kicks in and that usually causes them to die. Because Alex Mercer at that point, spoiler for the game, but you know, it's not that big a spoiler. It is a big spoiler, but essentially, what he did was he had a vial of the virus with him and threw it down in Penn Station, where the group of people were waiting for. Pretty much, he was developing this virus for Genentech company, and this group of people, all the scientists began to disappear. He decided he was going to essentially flee the scene and use this as the virus as a threat, but they wouldn't kill him. They cornered him, and he threw the virus down, and then they shot him to death. Because he was dying, and his immune system was failing, the virus actually was able to assimilate him, and bond him, and recreate him. The being we now know as Alex Mercer in the prototype game.
So it wasn't. So it was because it was like, it wasn't fighting it because he was already dying. So it wasn't like rejecting him. It just got. That's the way that it got in.
That's why in the game he's also amnesiac, and the few memories he does have are like scattered and unclear. Unlike in the game, when you do consume someone that's living, you break them down on the genetic level and absorb their memories. You get clear-cut memories.
So this is another one that also absorbs and assimilates. I don't think Cell gets any of the memories of the people that he's sealed, but Absorbalov and Alex Mercer do, which kind of
he also, depending if he gets someone with specific abilities in the game, there are creatures that are also viruses, like hunters and leader hunters and a red light virus lady called Elizabeth Green. If he absorbs people like that, he can evolve himself and can actually transform his body into different items, like a sword for an arm, or like claws.
Okay.
He also gains the ability to control the hive mind, so to speak. He has the ability to see people that are infected. He has infected vision. And the ability to sense the hive mind, like Elizabeth Green has after he kills her. Control the virus in everyone. He's a cool character. I like him.
Okay, that's pretty dope.
I prototype people.
So Sam, do you have another one that is a different one, or was that the one that you were going to use?
I have many different ones. I shall mention the one that brought this whole conversation up. This is the one Connor wants me to bring up.
Okay.
The Absorbing Man from Marvel.
Yes, yeah.
Ergo, the enemy of the Hulk.
Would you like to at least explain how his powers work specifically?
Oh, I am. Don't worry. Don't worry, I was going to mention that
I could hear
before.
You winding up to try and go like, okay, so I'm going to explain who this guy is and what the best comic is, and I know you want to, man.
I wasn't going to mention any of the comics. I was going to mention just the movie, because the Ang Lee movie, which is sorely underrated. But no, essentially, the Absorbing Man has the ability to, if he touches something, like let's give an example being a metal. He can essentially transmute his own body into the same element that he touches. So if he touches metal, his entire body, or at least part of his body, can become made of metal.
Now it's quite funny.
But this comes in particularly bad is when he touches the Hulk. Radiation. I think even Spider-Man, actually. I'm not sure if it's all heroes, but I know at least the Hulk. He actually drains them of their power.
Now that is really kind of interesting, because the first part of his ability isn't technically absorption, because when he touches it, it's not taking anything from that material, it's not destroying it, it's not removing it. It's actually subject assimilation, where a person touches a specific object, subject, substance, and their body becomes the same molecular density, friction, durability, even texture of it. And there are two characters that specifically have this ability, Absorbing Man, and I really hate to say this character, Kevin 11 from Ben 10.
Oh yeah.
Yes! It's also the other one he wanted me to mention. He kept wanting me to mention
That's
Kevin
not absorption.
11.
Although,
but I said no.
He does have absorption because, just like absorbing man, he can absorb energy and radiation, which is what he does to electrical grids and to the Omnitrix. As he absorbs a certain amount of energy, and some of the DNA that is inside of it then turns him and mutates him into Kevin Levin, as he has his original power to absorb energy and also all sorts of bits and pieces, and he also has the power of all 10 of the original aliens from the Watch. So
Yes.
that is actually the misnomer, though. It doesn't classify as absorbing, it actually classifies as subject to assimilation, because the objects that he's touching aren't being destroyed or being diminished in any way. But, as you have clearly stated, it's radiation, or at least powers or life essence, similar to Parasite. They diminish the power, or they diminish the specific character who holds the power, either temporarily or
I don't really know
permanently.
why.
I mean, I guess,
At least in the movie, I guess it's kind of explained why he absorbs it, is because, at least in the movie, he gets his power from the same source as the Hulk, gamma radiation. So the reason being is that because the Hulk's genetic structure is solid, it's like stable, and his is unstable. By absorbing the stable elements of the Hulk,
the best way that it makes sense in one thing is that it's kind of like, almost like it's trying to absorb, but then when the body realizes that it's actually touching an object that is not sort of absorbable, instead the body actually becomes part of that sort of thing. So instead of being able to absorb it, it just turns into parts of those things, kind of almost like as if it's trying to, well, it is assimilating to it because it's trying to gather that specific amount of substance. But when it's actually in contact with a force or an energy, or in this case a radiation, it's that thing of like the body's like a sponge. Instead of soaking up, instead of assimilating it, like as if it's soaking up essence, or transforming or assimilating to it, it's actually just soaking up like a sponge, and it can actually just keep going. Okay, the body can't turn into all of this at once because it would be destroyed, but instead it absorbs it and it powers the body in its own specific way. That's the only way that I can think about.
I didn't understand that, but I will say yes.
I guess you could just say it's the difference between physical and ethereal.
Just absorbing the body. We'll say that.
Yeah, it's the fact that like it's a solid, and the other one is more like a plasma or a radiation. It's like the body can't turn into this, otherwise, by technicality, the body could potentially just dissipate into molecules, atoms, or literally just electrons, and then at that point, there's no guarantee that the body could come back from that.
Just relax and believe.
Drains the power of the Hulk. That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
Because
Either
the
way,
Hulk needed an
kind of
enemy that could drain the Hulk. That's why.
Yes. Basically,
He's a cool guy, and he's also a hero now.
So, okay.
He once got defeated by a wet cardboard box.
Now, it's funny. It's funny because I'm now actually going to talk about another Absorption character, which, in all honesty, I think is probably one of the best Absorption characters. Because it's kind of doesn't make too much sense, but I'll get onto him in a second, because the other one that is a reference to what you just said is actually there is a One Piece character, with the power of the dark fruit, and he can absorb things into his void and his darkness, like as if it's a black hole. One of the things that he can do is he can pull people towards him, and the way that it states is if he's touching a person, he can quote-unquote absorb the essence of their devil fruit, meaning that whilst he has a hold of them, they can't use their powers. Now, at first I didn't really take too much notice of this, because it just seems like nullification, but the wording is at one point he can actually swallow anything into the darkness, anything into the black hole. So, a kind of form of absorption, I guess. But the main one that I wanted to talk about is actually the one that we have in Animite Tales, like how it works in Animite Tales. We have two, because absorption is actually two separate things that we've done here. First one is absorption stockpiling, empowerment, where the user absorbs things and well, it is built up as a stockpile of power or energy, similar to the Absorbing Man, and eventually they can use that stockpile to give them a boost of physical capabilities, such as super durability, super speed, and super strength. Absorption regeneration is for every amount of point of damage or for every amount of energy that the user is able to break down and convert into cellular regenerative energy, they are able to then heal themselves to that amount of power. What I'm saying is the way that absorption works in both of these abilities are two ways. First one is non-living and living as the second one. So the first one is basically if it's an object, if it's an elemental damage type, or even if it's just an environment or something that the user can touch that is non-living, it breaks it down into just pure energy and is stored into the body. The other one is living creatures. If something is living, instead of actually breaking it down, it absorbs the life force from a person, dealing damage directly to the creature that is being attacked by this. And again, breaking it down, taking that energy and storing it into the body as either an energy stockpile or to rejuvenate the user. Now, this works for multiple different things. For instance, it can absorb anything except from air. It didn't make sense that it could absorb gases, but it can absorb lightning, energy, fire. It can absorb physical matter, it can absorb solids, liquids, and it can absorb plasmas. And as I said, it can absorb any kind of material so long as it is any of those three aforementioned states of matter. Now, it can also be used reactively against certain things, like for instance, if you're quick enough, gunshots, the bullet's just absorbed and gone, or it can be used against certain special abilities. We've never, however, had the powers cross over with magic, but I know that Connor was asking this, could it absorb magic, like certain magical attacks or special magical abilities? The answer is, by technicality, yes. Because magic is a form of some kind of special energy, and considering that it can break down anything so long as it is relatively tangible, then yes, it can be considered as something that is absorbable. But I wanted to actually talk about these because we actually do have these two things here in the game. I'm pretty sure neither of you have used absorption, so this is going to be kind of a new sort of thing for the both of you.
I haven't used it, but I have seen it in a few other characters. There are other players have had it in the form of E, who had absorption powers, and also Nathan from the 8 Seas campaign, who had absorption powers.
Both had the same.
Yeah.
They both
had the same.
They both had absorption regeneration.
Oh yeah, they did.
But they were both anomalies. One had adaptive mind. So his mind was always like constantly firing off much faster. Basically, it was like super intelligence. And Nathan actually had catalyst physiology, a power specifically only to Animotails. Both of them used them very differently. But it does kind of bring this back to something which is, again, both have the ability. So again, instead of having it where it can only do one or the other, it is a very powerful ability because you can absorb practically anything so long as it's not gas or literally something that's intangible like spatial or
you know who else? You know who else had a go at it as well? When Cass, Graham's character, had that ring that gave him the ability of absorption to rather horrific. If he got the rolls, unfortunately it was very short-lived, but it was kind of terrifying what he managed to do with that ring.
Oh no, absolutely. I think I need to actually have a look at that. So whilst I'm doing that, Sam, do you have any things that you needed to say about this?
Yes.
Okay. This as a
Speaking
power.
of magic.
This as a power.
Yeah,
in
I
the
know
game?
magic.
Oh no, it's not. Are you? No, are you kidding? You kidding, Joe?
You're going to talk about
Let's be
Doctor
honest.
Strange.
Never
You're going to
cried.
talk
Yeah,
about
we
Doctor
got
Strange,
that.
weren't you?
Doctor Strange. Speaking of magic and absorbing it.
Oh, I've found it. All right, here we go. Okay, cheers, Sam.
Right.
So
Get out of here, Sam.
The item in question was the Ring of Gluttony, and the Ring of Gluttony itself had two special abilities in it. One of which was absorption. I've actually got it here. It was absorption regeneration. So every single time and in instance that you've seen has been absorption regeneration.
Had.
I was going to play as an absorption stockpile user, but I never got to.
Yeah, but we didn't have. Dang.
And
well, that's something we got to do.
My
friend we got to do because
made a character with both that power and another. And again, we never got to see him use it, which was again a shame. Which was such a shame. I feel like that power is either cursed or just no one ever just wants to use it.
I was under the impression that we had used it already, but apparently we haven't. We've only had absorption, regeneration this whole time.
I know that Kane was going to use it. I know that I was going to use it as one of the ones for Sam's campaign that fell through. It's just every character who's ever tried to play it it's just either fallen through or it's just never ended up being eventually used because it's like, actually, I've got this other character concept and it seems to work better. And then we just cut to Kane playing as a transformation type and me playing as some kind of like angel or something. So I mean, yeah, it never really worked out in the end, which was a shame. But I do actually have this. So for these powers to go together, the way the absorption stockpiling works is, again, you absorb stuff, you gain this energy, and you can then unleash it, and you gain basically a superhuman physiology that is empowered by this energy that you've been able to absorb. One of the best upgrades to that power is, well, less of an upgrade, it's more of one of the greatest advantages to that power is you actually can absorb energy from other stockpile users' stockpiles. So it literally gives you the advantage against other people who have similar powers to you.
I love that as well. You're just sucking their stockpile up with a straw. Almost. You're just like, mine now. This power, right? I mean, it is kind of like difficult to wrap your head around in certain ways because it seems like inherently a greedy power. Maybe that's why people have been avoiding it. It's like there's something kind of like a little bit taboo about it. It's like, hey, don't drink my stockpile. That's rude. Well, don't
you're definitely right, I mean? Because absorption is also considered similar. Some people actually have it as we've seen with Absorbing Man. All for One, who actually has the power of All for One, who uses the ability of stealing powers and stockpiling them, but it kind of is an absorption. He absorbs their powers and that's it. It's gone forever. It is stealing, but it is kind of also absorbing, I guess, in some way, shape, or form, because I think he has to touch them to steal the powers. But we've seen something like that with Bill. He played as someone with a unique attribute. There was a ton of downsides to just even equate to this, where he absorbed a person's powers either when they were dead or when they were willingly giving them up. So in other words, he couldn't do it from people who didn't want their powers to be taken and or were alive. But if they gave the powers up and he was like, alright, cool, rolls absorption regeneration, absorbs the power on top of it if he gets a high enough roll, thanks to Catalyst, because it allows you to control people's powers. Absorb it, store it in the body, and then it was like a single stone somewhere in his body, like a separate little bank account of power. And every now and again he'd use his Catalyst to activate it, because it allows you to activate single stones or power stones. And And since he was able to, he was able to do this, he kept doing this and storing them up. But the downside was the more powers he'd steal, the more weakness to animite he'd have, and eventually I think it ended up where he had like 14 times damage. So if he had gotten hit by like anything with even like 1 point of animite, it would have just done so much to him, which is insane.
That was my contingency plan. If he ever just went out of control, if we needed to kill him, we just get like a really good sniper.
That's the thing with Bill,
an animite
though.
bullet.
He had a contingency for every single one of the crew members.
Yeah.
It's like you can't trust the guy who doesn't trust himself. But this guy trusted all of you because that he knew it's like it doesn't matter. It's like it's that thing of like he's smiling in the middle of you guys pointing all of your pointy sticks and your guns at him, and he's just smiling. It's like it doesn't matter, and you're like, I don't feel good about this victory. You definitely shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, he just could turn himself into like a giant, bunny of light liquid that would eat entire ships. It's like if you're gonna mess with the guy, make sure that you have exactly that amount of power, if not more.
It was that thing of like, if you
happen.
hit this guy, make sure that you hit to kill. There's like no way. There's no half measures. If you do this and you go, maybe I need to hold back. I don't want to show off my trump cards. You're like, no, all trump cards have to be used against him. And a deck entirely made of just wild and trump cards need to be used against this guy, because if you don't have the one thing that he doesn't, you definitely be damn sure that he'll have it by the end of it, because he's taking it from you.
And it's also, as well, that's what's really kind of scary about Nathan, is that, he would like kind of absorb you into his fold as well, like, charismatically. That was like an extra theme as well. It's like he'd have something over you as well.
Oh, yes. No, he actually, by the end of it, like, we haven't even gotten to the end of that campaign.
Yeah.
We had to stop because Alfie went to uni, and so did Bill, but now Bill's also freeing himself up on Sundays. But I still I want to get Alfie back for that, because that was such a good campaign. And depending on how people feel about it, I like seeing a campaign that is already kind of midway through. I wouldn't mind streaming it, so long as we had everyone on that one. But yeah, it was such a good one, and I really loved the thing that we had with Nathan, because he actually was trying in his own way to do things. But getting back to the actual power itself, it was absorption, regeneration, and it was catalyst. So again, those two powers mixed together and allowed him to have the ability to absorb other people's powers within certain jurisdictions. And it's the same thing. I was actually going to ask the both of you, and I'm going to let Sam answer this one first. Out of all of the different abilities or special effects, what would be the best ability or effect to go alongside the ability of absorption?
That's a good question, actually. What would be a good one for absorbing? Trying to think of, from the characters I know about absorbing, trying to think what beyond that, what powers do they have? Doctor Strange has magic, as well as absorbing magic. Alex Mercer has the ability to absorb and organic shapeshifting, I guess, because he can rearrange himself to look like them and reorganize his biomass into strange and horrifying ways, like Devastators or armor.
Although that would only be based on he can only shapeshift into the things that he absorbed. But then again, I guess you could say the same thing for Mega Man. He has to defeat the enemies before he can get their power.
Yeah, he's a robot. It's only data he absorbs.
Yes, no, I know what you mean. I'm just saying that, like, I'm not saying that Mega Man's power is absorption. I'm saying that, like, it's the same thing of, like, if it has the rules of the Mega Man rules, which is you have to defeat them first, it is still quite a decent thing. But if it was, like, instead of, like, specific ones, where it's, like, everything that you kill or everything that you absorb this energy from, this life essence, you now have the ability to shapeshift into them, regardless of what different stats or physical abilities you have to them. You get everything that they have, but only whilst you're in the shape. That would be dope.
So. Absorbing man is just absorbing, I suppose.
And subject to simulation.
And that, which I don't think we have in this game.
We actually do.
If we do, I've not seen it.
We do, and adaptability.
The mutation of adaptability.
Well, I have not seen that.
Yeah,
I
was going to play.
This is
the saddest thing about my character Remington, who did have adaptability. I was going to go all in on that, and it's like, well, I'm dead.
I thought you said that you were going to go for targeted assimilation.
I was thinking about that, but like, no, maybe. Well, it would depend on what was going to happen in the story.
It's too late now to think about it now.
I know. Well, this is the thing. It's all moot, because I was just going to be like, oh yeah, depending on what story beats happen, I'll choose one or the other. But it's like, oh well, I'm dead, so can't do that. I have one.
Okay.
I have one, by the way. I have one. What about... I mean, well, actually, my first impulse was absorption, empowerment, and absorption regeneration. Because, like, you've got the best of both, whereas then... But what if, like, something that I've kind of always wanted to try, absorption and slime physiology, so I could be the blob?
Okay. You could quite literally... Yeah, okay. That is actually pretty darn cool, now that I think about it.
And think about it as well, like, you're absorbing everything, you're gaining more and more power on, like, you know, extra healing and stuff, and you're immune to physical damage. You know, you're not immune to everything. I mean, well, the blob is immune to cold. No, it's not immune to cold, so they just stick it in the Antarctic and that's it, dead forever.
Slime is definitely never ever immune to cold, so that's actually that's on brand, to be fair.
Yeah, and exactly. If you set it on fire, it'll go bad. But yeah, you could just fill an entire movie theater and just take whatever you want, just absorbing everything. You know, and there's really nothing to go against you.
Damn.
So yeah, that's my choice.
That is a good one. I mean, any mimicry power is good. I'd have to say, I'm gonna be a basic boy, and I'm gonna say absorption with any power is good, except from flight. And here's why. Most absorption powers require tactile contact. In other words, they have to touch something or someone. Flight is a power that requires you to be a faraway person flying away or swooping into something. Yes, it could enhance your ability to do such things, but yeah, it's not the greatest. I'm not saying that's impossible.
But if you have singularity,
well,
you could literally just go to the...
I've already said this to you, but even further, and this is another one, just having the ability to reactively absorb stuff whilst flying is like, oh yeah, you can finally hit me with a decent projectile. Oh, what's that? I've absorbed your bullets, arrows, and fireballs? Never mind then. So it's the kind of the ultimate troll, even without the ability to go, hey, by the way, you see everyone down there? Yeah, singularity little black hole about 20, 30, 70 meters up, as it just sucks them all up into the air.
Well, you know what you'd be then, though? You would be Kirby.
I was going to say absorption and copying as my choice, but yes, thank you for that.
Yep.
I think Bill and I were talking about something similar, which was absorption empowerment or absorption regeneration with spatial, and you absorb them, and what actually happens is you absorb them into your pocket dimension, so it looks like as if you just made them disappear. And then having some weird SPMA where you drain their health whilst they're in your pocket dimension to power your ability of healing or to power your stockpile. So it's this thing of they're just stuck in this pocket dimension, and it's like, oh, by the way, what? Undodgeable damage, suddenly buff.
That's actually the worst though, because you've
So
basically
evil.
just sent all of these people to hell, and their only purpose is to just sit in suffering as you drain their life away. And like they have no idea what's going on. They just know all there. They're just going, help us, and they can't die.
Oh, they
But
might be able
they
to.
can't. They might be able to. I mean, well, that's the thing, because it depends on whether you kill them by doing this, because it's just bodies piling up. They just, so it's just just oh my god, that would be literal hell. You've sent them to hell where there's just this landscape of dead bodies decomposing, whilst you're just sort of crawling around, slowly dying.
I will at
Like,
least
wow.
I will at least answer this question in case if this does come up. Once a body is confirmed dead or destroyed, or even if your roll of damage completely annihilates a person's vitality and they fail the con roll, you can break down parts of their body as an injury. So it's like, you absorb a part of their flesh or a couple of limbs or something. If eventually they were to die, you could just absorb the leftovers of their body and that's it. They just disappear entirely, just gone. Converted into the energy that heals you or empowers you. One of the two.
I just thought something even worse. Like, if you create a society, right? Like, people are allowed to like breed and live their lives in your pocket dimension. You just have an entire village that's like, thinks of you essentially as God.
Oh,
And
no.
then that fuel for your things, and it's like, if you could just convince them, like, you'd have a self-perpetuating system as well. Like, they'd just sort of like, they'd live, they'd give birth, they'd raise children, and then they'd die, and it'll all be in service of you. Well, this is like the most horrible supervillain I've ever imagined. It's like,
Start
and thank you,
scribbling
Joe.
down notes. Right, so the next villain for the campaign that I'm writing, that might actually come up, unless if someone wants to take that idea from me.
Please do it. You know what? Do it. I will enjoy killing you when you do it, because that's nasty. No, not allowed. Not on my watch.
That is literally just a factory of power.
Oh, it's what's that thing in D&D where you have a phylactery where it's like, it's like literally an item that just like is just it is just like a power generator for magical energy.
I think I've heard of something like that. I cannot remember it for the life of me though. I don't know a lot about D&D items that aren't things from like I think there's like Book of Many Things does a few different ones, but there's a couple of different ones that I follow, and I see like their Patreon things, and it's like, the wacky tub of arsenic or something like that. It's like, anyone who gets in this bath will either be perfectly cleaned or horribly poisoned. And it's like, okay. Some of them are really cool.
I don't think I want any. I don't think I want any of that. Really. No. Try it. Roll the dice.
Right, you actually buy a book of random magical items for D&D. Like, the axe that if you hold it upside down makes orange juice.
Now, it's funny, because I was actually going to come to this now, because I think we kind of finished on the subject, really.
Yeah, we're off to topic. Yeah, we found a new villain for the new campaign, so...
Unless, Sam, you have anything else to add to what could be quite good with...
Well, I thought of one now.
Okay.
Because... I guess this would be absorbing. Technically, it'd be absorbing, I think.
I don't like it when you go, I think, or technically, before you say something.
Well,
go on.
Well, mostly because I've been playing Vampire the Masquerade recently.
Okay.
With Alex. Like, they have, in the game, they drink blood because they're vampires. But the blood is different depending on what feelings the human is having.
Okay.
An example being, like they're feeling melancholy. That has different effects. That means that you can get different powers. Vampire. I think melancholy gives you the ability to become invisible.
Amongst other things, yeah.
And yeah, like invisibility and something else.
Oh, it's like, future vision or whatever.
Yeah.
It's Auspex, if I can remember correctly.
Auspex, that's the one. the ability to, like, your sixth sense.
Okay.
The one I was thinking for specifically was either super charisma or telepathy, so you can mind control people. Because one of the best powers in the game, or one of the two best powers, are powers called presence and dominate. Presence essentially is super charisma, where you exude an aura of amazingness.
Right. Hello? Oh no.
You not hear me?
Oh, there we go. I can hear you now. That was weird.
Yeah, I could hear you too. I think it just like cut out a little bit, but yeah, I get what you mean. I don't hope the recording's all right.
Oh no, it just went silent for a bit. So presence was super charisma, and then the other one was dominate. You said
dominate, which essentially is the Dracula thing of I look in your eyes and bam, I can control you. I think would be mind control, which would be
yes,
be telepathy. Telepathic powers.
I mean, as
enough.
Alex and I know that like telepathy is OP if used by the right evil genius. Because my brother DM'd and he had like telepathy and I was like, yeah, don't worry, I've got this, and made all of us believe that this one dude was like this anime level of like OP god, and we're like, how do we even beat him? Only for us to realise that it was actually an illusion the whole time, and he's actually escaping right now. Only one of us, me, has been able to break out of the illusion. Only long enough for all three of my clones and myself to suddenly be swallowed up by this horrible nightmare illusion, which is going just great.
Yeah, basically.
That'd be useful if you want someone to come to you and absorb them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if it is all like tactile contact as well, then that's a really good ability to have. If your tactile ability, you just let them come to you and not run away or just stay in place.
Something of
then
stop and then walks up, touches them, drains their health, and then walks away.
Yes, because then you can do it if you have super charisma with more than one person. You can do it with a crowd. You can absorb them one at a time.
Handshake is what I was going to subjects.
More or less. And with the telepathy one, you could do it with someone who's slightly better at reading the room. Slightly better. Oh, this guy's super charismatic. He's the bad guy. I can tell. I read books. Therefore, but if they're mind controlled, they're less likely to do that. They're more likely to realize.
Well, they're literally like, they can just edit your memory to be like, oh yeah, I was here to get absorbed. Oh, silly me. I thought I was here to kick your ass, but actually no, you're my childhood friend and I'm just here to get absorbed by you.
That is a power. That is a great power Vampires and Masquerade have. They can actually rewrite your memories. But the thing is,
we can do that as well. Like, literally, you're saying, oh, it's great power in, like, Vampire the Masquerade. Like, this literally happened.
Oh, yes.
In the Anime Tales game. Yeah, I literally got... This is the horrible thing about mind control, right? Like, I know, my character knows that the memories that were implanted inside him are false, but they're still there. Like, they're still there, and they're permanently in his head forever.
Uncle, what's his face?
Yeah, they did. That was one of the things that broke apart, when I rolled a natural 20. It's like, realized that actually this great guy that I've known since childhood didn't actually have a name. Forgot to give himself a name in my memories. So, yeah, I was like, wait a minute. So, yeah, basically, I mean, yeah, he could have easily, like, even though the memories didn't make any sense, I would still be absorbed.
Yes.
Yeah. By the vampire.
Yes.
Well,
the best part is they do.
No, go.
You can't just rationalize that. They actually have a thing called rationalize, where if they realize there's something missing in my memory, or they've done something really weird, like they wouldn't do, they'd rationalize it as, yeah, I was going to do that. I would definitely let this person absorb my blood. Yeah, that makes sense. I would die for this person.
I was wondering how long it would take you, though, to try and make a vampire reference, and it actually turns out that it was a Vampire Masquerade reference, which I'm sure Coin would definitely be happy with.
It's because I'm playing Adventure on Sunday, who have the power of presence and dominate.
Fair enough.
And they're fun.
Okay, so I think we've pretty much covered everything, and to any of our listeners, this was actually because this episode was made all because that one of you guys out there decided to comment as to what you'd like the next episode to be about. So if you guys would like our next episode to be about something, comment, and we actually will pay attention. The next episode's either going to be stockpile powers or something else that we just come up with on the fly, because we're crazy like that.
We're a wild and wacky
Yes, our one fan
bunch.
Connor.
Thanks. Well, I wouldn't
Come
say
on,
one
tell
fan.
us what you want us to do next.
Hey, we've got Juice and some other people that I know that are definitely named. Des listens to them sometimes, and other people also listen to them. I don't know everyone's names because I can't always see our subscribers. Sad face. But not everyone comments. So if you guys want to be name dropped, comment. But thanks again to all of our patrons, thanks again to all of our listeners, viewers and subscribers, and thanks again to all of the people who follow me at Animite Tales, also known as OnGojo, on Twitter. This has been the Animite Tales Power Podcast, and if you guys like to hear any more of this, then keep listening, as we also do Dev Plays, which we're currently going to be doing something about that this Sunday. So if you guys would like to hear another set of developers trying to both playtest and develop a tabletop RPG and play through it as in a playtesting campaign or two, then definitely check those out, as we do them every other Sundays. This Sunday we'll just be doing a small recording explaining some stuff that's going to be happening in the future for that project. We've also got some stuff happening on Patreon very soon, so keep an eye out on that. Thank you very much. I have been Joe. You guys have been Alex and Sam.
Have we?
I would hope to
My
believe
God.
so. And
Oh man, I was in the wrong podcast. My name is actually Kevin. I gotta get out of here.
well, Kevin, I'll let you go, and I'll also let you
We
go.
call you Kevin.
Again, thanks to our number
It's a
one fan
reference.
for asking us to do this one, and thank you again to all of you who listen there. Take care.
Indeed, Connor. Hi.
Take care and have a wonderful night.
Bye.
See you in the future.
Ciao, ciao for now.